Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kayisa Dlamini, a serial e-commerce entrepreneur, and I will be making videos to help you increase your wealth through e-commerce. Last week, I made a bunch of videos talking about my mindset framework called the Dreamweaver technique. I use the Dreamweaver technique to frame my mindset before I start any business, and this framework has four components. The first component is idealization. So, literally idealize the end goal that you're trying to achieve before you start the work. In layman's terms, understand the harvest that you want before you start sowing the seed. The second is observation. So you're observing people who have achieved your ideal outcome and studying them in terms of what route did they take to achieve that outcome, but more importantly, to understand their failures so you don't repeat them. The third is implementation. So once you have idealized the ideal outcome that you're trying to achieve, and then have observed, researched, and studied the best route to achieve that outcome, then you have to implement it. And of course, once you have idealized, observed, and implemented, you will then manifest the ideal outcome that you want. Now, in today's videos, I will be talking about the practical framework that I apply when I'm actually starting a business or if I want to grow a business from, adding an extra zero in terms of the revenue. And the framework that I use is called the Lean methodology. The Lean methodology was made famous by Eric Ries, an entrepreneur who had a software company, and he basically wanted to scale it to a level where you could buy out and sell. I believe that the Lean methodology was first found or used by Toyota when they were using it in the manufacturing plant in terms of how to build as many cars as fast as possible. So this lean methodology is quite quick and quite simple, and it's only got three steps towards it. So it's literally build, measure, and learn, and those are three components. And the lean methodology is essentially the framework that will allow you to turn ideas into products and help you measure customers' feedback, and then you will learn whether you want to pivot from your idea or persevere with this idea. Now, the first aspect of the lean methodology is the build part. Now, this part is where we have to build an MVP, a minimum viable product. So this doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the end customer product, but this is essentially something that you build for as quick as possible and as cheap as possible just to test the hypothesis. So an hypothesis is basically you say, okay, for instance, um, I believe that in hot, dry places, they would love, you know, quick blowable pools, inflatable pools. So you would have to test that hypothesis. So you would actually have to build some type of inflatable pool and put it in hot, dry places and see if you bring in customers. So it doesn't have to be obviously a mega gigantic, 24-month pool that has to be built in there, but obviously it's about how do you prove the hypothesis before you put in more time and more of your resources in the minimal viable product. So specifically to this video and in terms of e-commerce, we want to find out what e-com business or what product should we sell that is going to bring us success. So if we have a hypothesis, again saying, for instance, we find a product that doesn't require any piercings for ladies in the nose rings, then we'd find a product and we'd sell it as slip-on nose rings and test the hypothesis. So just in terms of technical aspect, in terms of how we're going to go about building our MVPs, we are going to use WordPress. So WordPress is a website builder that doesn't require any coding. It's free, and about 25% of the current websites on Google and other web browsers are built from WordPress. Now, there's another platform or another website builder called Shopify, and Shopify is a great website builder, but in terms of testing products quickly, it will not help us because Shopify has only, I think, a 14-day free trial, and after that, we're gonna have to pay for the service. And then there's a lot of plugins that we can use on Shopify, but most of them are also paid. So when we come to testing a lot of products or testing a lot of online businesses brand or online brands, it just makes sense for us to use WordPress over Shopify. Some maybe later down the line you could maybe convert your WordPress store into a Shopify store, but WordPress and WooCommerce has been a very trusted platform, and a lot of developers and a lot of big brands use it. So I think for us building our e-commerce websites and online brand, which we'll be doing in the next videos, we will be using WordPress because of the lean methodology, because we want to build our MVP as quick as possible and as cheap as possible, and WordPress will allow us to do both, and we can constantly test new products without increasing our costs. So that's the first part of the lean methodology, the build. So outcome for the build part is to build our MVP to test a hypothesis. And now the second part of the methodology is the measure part. So this is where we test our hypothesis. Does our hypothesis bring value to the customer? This is where we want to receive feedback. So we want to measure, we want to collect data, you know. So in this respect, we want to be looking at, okay, cool. Does our website do what is required to do? Does it bring in the customers that's required? So for instance, if we're running an Instagram ad and we say, okay, cool, our ad should bring 100 people to the website, and from the 100 people, we assume that 10 people will actually view products, and 1 out of 100 will be the actual purchase. So we will need to measure that. So we'll have to check first, of course, our Instagram analytics. If we're running the paid campaign or boosted campaign on Instagram, we want to check our insights there to ensure, is our ad copy actually bringing the attention that we want, and is it driving the traffic to our website? And then we would use another tool called Google Analytics. Guys, do not be scared. I will show you how to use all these tools, but I just want you guys to understand the framework we're going to be using, so that we all speak in the same language and we know how we're going to use this flywheel to either pivot or persevere in the idea that we have. So we will use Instagram insights and analytics to check how well our ad creative or ads are performing to drive traffic towards the website. We will be using Google Analytics to actually see our bounce rate, like how many people are landing on the website and are either interested or they're like, this is not for me, and they bounce off. And then the last thing that we'll probably be using is WooCommerce Analytics. And like I said, the whole point of measuring and checking this is to ensure that our hypothesis, if let's say for instance we are correct and we're able to make a couple of sales after our first attempt, then that's great. But if we want to be investigative in terms of where are we falling off, which part could we improve in terms of our funnel? Is it at the creating the ad? And if the ad is doing well and driving traffic, then okay, we can tick and say Instagram Analytics has helped us measure the performance of our ad creative. Then we can say, okay, cool, let's see Google Analytics. Let us see how the users that have been funneled through from the Instagram ad onto our website, which pages are they navigating? Are they landing on the home page? Are they landing directly on the shop page? Are they falling off from the cart? You know, are they falling off after checkout? You know, we will use Google Analytics to let us know. And then the third thing that we'll use is WooCommerce Analytics. So that will let us know in terms of how is our store performing, how many viewers are actually on the shopping page, how many visitors. So I'll break down the difference between viewers and visitors in another video. And then in terms of how many people placed orders, in the order, how many products did they buy. So all of these 3 data tools will help us measure whether a hypothesis is working or not. You know, so we've spoken about build, we've spoken about measure, and then we're going to be learn. So once we've learned all the data analytics and all the data that we need, that is when we have to decide whether is our hypothesis bringing value or is it not, and is it still worthwhile to continue with this hypothesis, or should we scrap the product completely, you know? And this cycle, the more we repeat it or the quicker we repeat it, realistically or in theory, the quicker we'll get to our success, you know. So what we want to do, we want to build, we want to measure, we want to learn. And once we've learned, we want to improve our MVP or add a new feature. So let's just run it through a case. Going back to my creating an inflatable pool to leave in hot dry places for people. So if we build a website through WordPress, because it makes sense, we'll find our product, we put it onto our website, and we make a very beautiful styled and themed pool website, and we list all the features of the inflatable pool. And then we also decide, okay, cool, we will run an ad creative, which I'll also teach us later down the line. If someone sees our ad and we see, okay, we're getting a lot of attention from our ad, but you know, people aren't buying from the website, then we know, okay, cool, the problem is not the ad, because people really like the idea, is probably the trustworthiness of the website. So then we would need to either improve the website, either by the ad copy or in terms of the layout, you know, or maybe it could be a situation where people have gone through the experience and love the website, but they're unable to pay us. Then we know the problem must be either in the payment link that we've used, or maybe our prices are too high, or maybe the shipping fee. So essentially, using this framework will help us decide what do we have to change, and then which part of the funnel do we have to change it. So for me, the lean methodology has been very, very effective. It's literally helped me start businesses and scale them up to 7 figures. It's been literally been a formula that I've used to literally grow the business and find out where the problems are in the business. And this is going to be the fundamental methodology that we use to constantly test products and to grow our business and scale it up. So that's all from me today in terms of the lean methodology. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys like the videos that I'm making. Please comment, please subscribe, please do all that. And I'll see you next week, where we actually go into how do we choose our first e-commerce product and how do we find it. And yeah, I'll see you next week.